led by Reverend Alan Eldridge, remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our Father who art in heaven, may your name be honored and glorified throughout all the world. For this day we thank you and recognize each day as a gift from you. I pray for all the leaders of our city council, our mayor, and everyone, that you would grant them wisdom and courage as they make decisions that impact our city. Father, there are so many people in our city who make significant contributions. Thank you so much for our police department and our fire department and the protection they provide for us, for our sanitation department and the valuable services they render. We have so many people who contribute to the welfare of our city. We thank you and pray your blessings on them. Lord, would you please make each one of us instruments of your peace. Where there is hatred, let us sow love. Where there is discord, let us sow unity. Where there is despair, hope. And where there is darkness, light. Help us all to remember that we may be just one in this world, but we may be the world to just one. In his name we pray. Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The clerk has informed us that Councilman Manzi is going to be a little bit late this morning. So in his absence, I would like to nominate Councilman Richardson to serve as temporary chair until Mr. Manzi arrives.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Well, it would be just as well if the clerk ran the meeting. I wouldn't have anything against it.
Well, actually, the rules require, but the rules require it.
Okay. Let's go.
Follow the same rule.
Okay.
Roll call. Vice President Manzi. Councilmember Richardson.
Here.
Councilmember Small. Here. Councilmember Williams. Councilmember Daves.
Here.
Councilmember Rich.
Here.
Councilmember Gregory.
Here.
Statement of rules.
Morning to everybody.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right, it's a little weak. Good morning to everybody.
Good morning.
Okay. Well, for those of you who plan to come down to speak to us this morning, if you sign in to speak, you would have five minutes to deliver your message. You would hear buzz after 4 minutes, meaning you have 1 minute to wrap it up, and then you'd have to wrap it. Those who, when you come down, we're going to ask you your name and your address, so we will know who you are. If you have recording devices, telephone, any kind of electronic device that will make noise, we need you to turn it off because we would like for our meeting to be undisturbed. Cut that off. And I think we'll be ready to go with that, Madam Clerk.
Approval of minutes of November 10th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So be it.
Communications from the mayor.
Well, good morning.
Morning.
Good to see everybody this morning. I want to begin by wishing everyone a safe and blessed Thanksgiving. I hope you have an opportunity to spend it with family and friends and make memories. Changing to my next topic, there's been conversation about there being maybe friction between the mayor and the city council, and kind of to put that to rest, I want to introduce to you a new chief of staff that we've called in to help us calm anything that may be going on. And he's known for leadership ability, and, well, you'll know when you see him what all he's done in his past. So if you'll excuse me just for 1 second.
And I got to tell y'all, I had a sneak peek at who this fella is, and you don't want to cross him. Genghis, Mr. Khan.
Nice to meet you.
I stand for Con.
I didn't do it.
CJ Small. Let's go back around the backside and get a picture. I think this will put everything to rest. Will we not agree?
Oh, yeah.
Everything will be in order now.
In conversation with the great Con earlier in my office, he reminded me that today the descendants, the lineal descendants of Genghis Khan are 26 million. 26 million descendants, which is pretty amazing. How about this? All right.
1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Josh, would you like to make a couple of comments about, as we return to our seats, about that? Okay?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you all for having us this morning. We're really excited to bring this exhibit here. We appreciate the support of the city and the county on this, as well as our other sponsors. Excuse me. The exhibit will be opening January 26, 2019. It'll run through April 28, 2019. And we're looking at having over 100,000 visitors for this exhibit. So this is kind of a throwback to what we used to do with the big blockbuster exhibits, and we're really thrilled about bringing this to Mobile. We shot a really great commercial this week highlighting downtown, and it's really just going to be a phenomenal exhibit. It's something we haven't seen on the Gulf Coast, we won't ever see here on the Gulf Coast again. So we look forward to working with you all and having the city host us, and thanks again for everything.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, could you tell everybody a little bit, don't give away everything,
Okay.
but tell everybody a little bit about that commercial, and if they happen to be downtown Saturday evening and saw something a little out of the ordinary?
Yeah, so we worked with some local film producers that you're familiar with as well, and essentially had what we want to do with this exhibit, because we want so many people to come in for it, we want to highlight all of Mobile, not just the Explorium. So what we did was set up a shoot late Saturday night, starting at about 8 p.m. We ran until about 2:33 in the morning, and we shot all over downtown, some of the most iconic spots. We're kind of in the background, and you have Con coming through the city, basically to conquer downtown, but to also highlight all of the great tourist attractions, hot spots, eateries, anything like that. We kind of tried to sneak those in the background, but have it in its kind of fun, sort of whimsical way. So a little ominous though, given the nature of Con as well. So it was a lot of fun. We had a blast. The city worked, we worked with some of the officers downtown. They were phenomenal. And it really, we got a little teaser spot yesterday, and we can't wait to show it. It looks like a Hollywood, teaser. So
I'm sure.
It's going to be great.
And Con was not in a car, by the way.
No, he was on his traditional transportation. I guess we can leave it at that and be a little vague. But yeah, it turned out spectacular. We can't wait to share it with everyone. So.
Thank you. Sounds great.
Is he going to address or go visit cruisers that come into town?
Yes, we plan on having him.
They would love to see him.
Yes, that's one thing we definitely want to do is have him visit with cruisers. We actually took him out for a cool little social media teaser thing on Saturday as well, where we went to the Haberdasher and Loda Beer Garden and had lunch, went to Serta's and got a coffee and some ice cream, and the full regalia, of course. So keep an eye out for those two, some kind of fun things, again, highlight all of downtown and the surrounding area.
We want him to remain happy.
Oh, yeah. We're definitely making sure he's more than
Well, we
thrilled.
look forward to him joining the group at the table here. They'll have to slide down a little bit.
Yeah, we'll get some more informal armor for him so he's a little more comfortable, too.
His dress armor. Yeah.
Yes.
Josh, so it starts when?
January 26, 2019, so it'll be a
Right.
Saturday.
And this is one of the situations where this exhibit has been tremendously successful wherever it's been. And it's an opportunity for all Mobilians to reach out to family and friends outside of the city and encourage them to come to the exhibit, not just Mobilians themselves, but, you know, our friends and family outside. So let's keep that in mind, and let's play a role in making sure that we have a lot of visitors for that. So having said that, I'm going to excuse myself and take the chief back upstairs so that we can get on the same page.
Thank you all.
All right, thank you very much.
Happy Thanksgiving.
We appreciate you coming. All right. Madam President.
Finish. Report of the Finance Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The City Council's Finance Committee met last week to examine the proposed ordinance 84031, authorizing the issuance of tax-exempt general obligation refunding warrants. This is a refunding of a portion of the city's long-term debt. After thoroughly reviewing the proposal, the City Council Finance Committee voted unanimously to recommend to the full council the approval of this proposal. Thank you.
Adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's adopted.
Appeals, we have request for a waiver of the noise ordinance on November 24th in Bienville Square and November 21st on McGo Drive.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passed.
Public hearings. Today is the public hearing to determine if the structures at 1012 New St. Francis Street, 2021 Tucker Street, 159 Stevens Street are public nuisances and ordering them demolished.
Is there anyone here that wishes to speak to any one of these items? If so, you may come down now and give us your name and your address. Do we have anyone? That concludes the hearing.
Public hearing to rezone property at the northeast corner of Papal Mill Road and Town Boulevard from B2, R2, and I2 to I2.
Is anyone here to speak to that one?
Is the applicant?
She's called for a public hearing.
Yeah, he's here to talk during the public hearing on this particular
Oh,
property.
yeah, okay.
Okay, is the applicant?
Yeah, is the applicant?
Because they usually come if there's somebody.
The applicant is here?
Yeah, if he'd like to speak.
We want the applicant to go first?
Yes.
Okay.
If there's somebody objecting.
Bruce Smith, Coles Murphy, Glover and Associates, 457 St. Michael Street, representing Kim Clark.
Could you speak up a little, please?
Yes, sir. We're in agreement with the Planning Commission, the recommendations. We're doing this to clean up the parcels on the west side of the railroad tracks. The reason why we're doing this is because a converting building is being built on the east side, and a subdivision was required. In order to do the subdivision, the lots have to be the same zone, so they're being rezoned R2 and B2 to I2.
Which one are you addressing?
The
Africatown, Africatown.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you state your name and address?
Yes, sir. Bruce Smith, Coles Murphy, Glover and Associates, 457 St. Michael Street.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay.
What is the intended use?
Well, I mean, the intended use right now, it's an open area. I believe, looking at the aerials, as soon as 2002, there was a rather large building. I believe it was their bond paper mill. It was probably approximately 100,000 square feet. It crossed over lot lines of that R2 and B2, and I believe portions of the adjoining I2 property. That was demoed, I believe, around 2002, and nothing has been on those two parcels since, other than a laydown yard area for, various projects. I don't believe there's any, to my knowledge, ever been a residential or a business structure on those two lots. The only reason why we're doing the rezoning on this now is because on the other side of the railroad tracks, on the east side, there's a converting building that is being built. And when that was brought before to build that, and to get permits for it. That building is approximately, I think maybe, I forget how big it is, rather large, and it covers multiple lot lines. So in order to clean up all these areas, a subdivision was going to be required. Well, instead of doing a one-lot subdivision for all of the parcels that Kimberly Clark owned, excuse me, it was suggested that we do a two-phase subdivision so that we could go through with the converting building permits. So there was a phase one is all the parcels on the east side of the property, and a phase two, all the parcels on the west side of the property. There are no plans to do anything on the west side of the railroad tracks right now. The only reason why we're rezoning is because a subdivision is required based on the conditions for the Planning Commission for the converting building. And once these properties are rezoned, a subdivision will be done to include all of those parcels on the west side of the railroad tracks into one lot, and it'll be I-2, which, like I said, it is all the other parcels that Kimberly Clark owned right there are I-2. They didn't even know that these properties were R2 and B2 when they started this. Because, I mean, like I said, they had a mill on this site 20 years ago. So this is just to clean this area up.
Good morning. Pardon my tardiness. LaVon Mans, I represent this area.
Sir.
And are you the gentleman that I had a conversation with on yesterday?
Yes, sir. Bruce Smith. Yes, sir.
So I just want to go back over some information you shared with me.
Yes, sir.
You all have built a new building. Kimberly Clark has built a new building.
It is in the process of being built right now. I believe it's going to finish in around March or April of 2019 on the east side.
Does this new building come over into any of this property that's being requested to be rezoned?
No, sir. It does not.
So you don't necessarily need to rezone it in order to move forward with the new building?
Well, based off of the recommendations from the Planning Commission, I think it is a requirement that this be rezoned.
Well, why would they require land that you're not using be rezoned?
Well, I think it's because, I mean, we have a R2 and a B2 property surrounding and adjoining neighboring properties that are owned by the same property owner, and the intended use is industrial, and it has been for the last, I don't know, however long they've owned the building. I believe that all the future land use maps for Mobile and Africatown are heavy industrial for those two parcels. So it falls in line with the intended use for that general area.
I think if you want to, yes, ma'am.
Hi, Margaret Pappas, Planning and Zoning of Build Mobile. The converting facility that Bruce is referring to is on the east side of the railroad tracks. However, when they applied, it was found that all of these properties were meets and bounds legal descriptions. There were parcels kind of piecemealed through all of the property that Kimberly Clark owns. So a subdivision to consolidate these properties in properly subdivided legal lots of record was required. You have the parcel where the converting facility is being built on the east side of the railroad tracks. As part of that subdivision, and that is Lot 1, it was to be recorded in phases. Lot 1 on the east side, Lot 2, which is the configured as is before you now, has to be all one zoning classification, and that is phase 2. So in order to clean all of this up, they were allowed to record the lots in phases, but this lot, which is before you now for rezoning, does need to be all one zoning classification before it can be recorded.
Okay.
you have any other questions for me, or? Thank
So
you.
what are the consequences if this isn't? If they have no use for it, if they aren't currently building it, then if we don't move forward with this, you know, I'm just nervous when it comes to this area.
I understand.
With these I-2s, with just unilaterally allowing this where it hadn't been allowed. You don't have a purpose now, but clearly there's a reason that you all want them to do it. So what would be the what would the harm to them if we didn't do it?
They would, if the rezoning as proposed does not proceed, they will have to go back to the Planning Commission to have that condition removed from their planned unit development and subdivision. Specific conditions placed on that approval were, one, rezoning of the west lot to I-2 to eliminate split zoning prior to recording of the final plat, as either as a single-phase plat or a two-phase plat. And then condition number 7, which was, of course, the board allowed them to record the plat in 2 phases and allowed the converting facility to proceed as far as building permits. With those specific conditions on there, they would have to go back to the Planning Commission to get this removed from their PUD application. Now, if this does proceed with the I-2 zoning, this lot is part of a planned unit development. Thus, any amendments to it would have to go back through the PUD process in order to develop on this site. But right now, before the council now, is strictly the rezoning, which, yes, would eliminate the R2 and B2 zoning on the site and rezone the entire property to I-2.
I just want Mr. Miller.
Bruce.
Mr. Bruce, pardon me.
Smith.
Mr. Smith.
Yep, Bruce Smith.
I want to just make certain. So Kimberly Clark is building a facility, but they're not building it on this property. And as you all are going through the process, they've hired your company to assist them with this process.
Yes, sir.
And as you're going through the process, you've got all these meets and bounds, and they said, well, we just want to make one large subdivision and get it all zoned under one classification.
Yes, sir.
But if it doesn't happen today, they didn't stop you from building your building, does it?
It does not stop it, but I believe it. I mean, it impacts it because of the PUD in the subdivision, because it is tied to the subdivision PUD on the east side of the property.
If I may, I think maybe this will answer your question. It'll not stop the construction process, but those elements are required to be approved and in place before the certificate of occupancy can be issued. So if this rezoning does not go through, we cannot issue the certificate of occupancy. We cannot approve it from a zoning perspective. The only option Kimberly Clark would have would be to go back to the Planning Commission for another planned unit development approval, asking for those conditions to be removed.
Oh, the reason you couldn't approve it is because of those 2 conditions.
The reason we could not issue the CO if this zoning fails is because of those conditions.
So
yes, sir.
in order to jump over that, you go back to the folks who issued the conditions, the Planning Commission.
The Planning Commission, yes, sir.
I have a question. I remember this as your representative on the Planning Commission. And it was that some people in the neighborhood had not gotten the letter, but they would not have been notified. But I believe they saw a sign, and then they came down to council because they learned about the hearing. And there were concerns on what was going to be built, what was going to be there. And I think they talked about screening. And most of this is cleared. I don't believe the Planning Commission put any screening on the property, but that might be something the council wants to consider, to screen it, because the residents, like when you have to get a bigger map, but they're not that far away. They come past this to get to where they live, if I'm not mistaken. That's the impression I got. Mr. Manzi, did anyone from the neighborhood contact you?
Well, they did, and you know, anytime you rezoning from R2 to industrial, now that raises the concerns of the citizens in that community. It's already heavily industrial at this point, and so there isn't a whole lot of interest in seeing any strip of residential go industrial at this point. I hear what you're saying, and we had a long conversation yesterday about this subject. Mr. Small.
Thank you, Vice President Manzi. Thank you for coming down too. Just a couple questions. What part of the process of the construction are you all in? Y'all like halfway done, just in the very beginning?
For the converting building? For the converting building? Yes. Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not involved with that project at all, other than just help them get through this permitting process, but I would say that they're probably 70% complete.
So was these conditions, so you all knew about these conditions before you all started to work, correct?
Yes, sir, yes.
And it just took this long to come through the Planning Commission to council, or?
Well, I don't think they've had the converting building. They haven't had that permit long. I mean, we pretty much jumped on this as soon as it was brought to us. So I mean, I don't think there's been any delay as far as getting the conditions and trying to get this pushed through.
And when did y'all start? When did they start this project?
We started this process, I believe, in June. I don't know when they pulled the building permit for the converting building.
So before June, you all knew that this had to be converted, correct?
I believe it was around June or July. Yes, sir. Okay. I'd have to go back and look. I don't really recall.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Daves asked to speak, and then Mr. Richardson.
I'd like to. I assume that this requirement that this parcel be rezoned originated with the staff. And can you tell me why the staff put that condition in there?
Okay, subdivision, you cannot have a split zoned piece of property. The applicant requested the I-2 zoning because it is what that property is, the preponderance of the property is currently zoned I-2. If you go to both the general land use, the land use plan, as well as the Africatown plan for this community, both of those plans illustrate this site as industrial.
Yeah, but again, if I understand it correctly, the site they're building on is across the railroad track, on the other side of the railroad tracks from the site we're talking about. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. However, it's a planned unit development. The two overall properties had small properties, parcels within them, so that's the purpose of this division, to aggregate them into Lot 1 and Lot 2. And then because that facility does operate on both lots, the planned unit development, which is site plan specific, is required. On this site, on the west side of the railroad tracks, there was a building there that was demolished years ago, but there are still functioning buildings, part of the Kimberly-Clark operation that are on that property on Lot 2 now. And it's an overall, considered for the purposes of the zoning ordinance, an overall planned unit development. There are multiple buildings on both properties, and there's cross-access across the railroad track between those two lots. So those are the various factors that went into the staff and planning commission.
It just seems like to me, and we're not voting on this today, but it just seems like to me that there's a solution here that doesn't involve rezoning that particular parcel. I could be wrong on that, but that's just where I am right now.
Well, Mr. Davis, you could be wrong, you could be right. But we're going to need to find a solution that involves other than rezoning. Because, Mr. Richardson.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. It seems to me that Kimberly-Clark has enough land to construct the building without doing anything else. They have enough land to construct the building they want to construct. But when they submitted their plans, they submitted plans for 2 more parcels of land. One is R2 and one is I2, and they want to from B2 and R2, and they want to make all of that I2. Okay. I think the concern is because if they had not tacked on those parcels of land, you already zoned for what you want to do. But you tacked on 2 more parcels of land and made it a PUD, a planned unit development. And when it got down to the planning commission, they can't have no in one PUD. You can't have no mixed zoning. I think from a community perspective and from Councilman Manzi's perspective, well, I think they're going to know, what are you going to do with this other land? Because you have enough land for them. What's your plan? Well, can you self-restrict yourself? They don't want nothing on that on those 2 parcels of land that might adversely affect the community. And can you self-restrict yourself and tell them exactly what you're going to do with that land?
Well, right now there are no plans to do anything with that land. And the only reason why they're being rezoned right now is because
all you're telling me is down the road we might have. They want you to self-restrict yourself right now. So we're not going to put, and you say what you're not going to put on that land, I think it'd be set to go. But them not knowing what you're going to do with that piece of land, they are afraid of what Kimberly-Clark, because Kimberly didn't just move there. They've been there for a while, and the community is not satisfied with what the residual effects of Kimberly-Clark.
Well, I don't think I have the authority from Kimberly-Clark to say what they're going to and what they're not going to be building in the future on that piece of land or any land.
Okay.
But I can say right now, anything that they do build will also have to go through the planning commission again and then come before y'all for the PUD. The only reason why we're doing this is because of converting building. They did not know that this was R2 or B2. If they did, they probably would have sought correction of this in the early 2000s or 90s when they had a 100,000 square foot mill on the piece of property, on a residential property. That property has been used for I2 purposes for 80 years. So I don't think anything that they do is going to be out of the character that it's been used in the past or the intended use for the Africa Town plan or the Mobile plan. I don't, again, the only reason why we're doing this is because of the building stipulation and the recommendations. That's the only reason. Not approving this now, one adverse effect is they spent time and resources as well as the city has getting all this cleaned up. And again, in the future, if they ever do want to build something, they're going to have to go through this whole process again after wasting all the money, time, and resources that they've invested now at the direction of the the city, so.
If I may comment.
Mr. Rich?
Understand what you're saying about that they'd have to come back if they subdivided this lot again and did another PUD. But if it's given the I-2 all the way out to the tip, then, which it was never in use before, towards Africatown Boulevard, if I'm looking at the map correctly. Okay. And there's no intention, you say, to do anything at this moment. The residents, when you look at a map, have to, you know, they're looking at this visually. They're also were part of a big program to sit down, city, come up with a master plan, which all of you were part of as well. And again, I'd already suggested this, but, and I'm not saying to do it this second, because I think maybe there needs to be more community input, but some kind of screening within this, so that since you don't have plans to build anything in that portion, that's really getting the rezoning, because the bulk of this 18 acres are definitely in the I-2 already, so that's not a contention, that because you could have put a line there and said we're just doing this right now, and that might have helped, or the subdivision could have come there from, but it took in everything. It's not in use, and kind of tree planting or screening, you know, as an entry point where you're talking more to buffer it from that residential area, which I guess is Fraser Street, and was that Hammond? I'm really not as familiar as the council person would be, the residents in there, but that was the sense that I got at the Planning Commission was, you know, what is the use? And they left with not knowing, or just that there wasn't a use per se, and that it's part of an overall PUD, and it would come back, but at the same time, we give complete permission by making everything in the I-2, if you didn't rezone, to put something right down to the tip that is in I-2 use, which probably the residents would be pretty miffed about from their give and take of working to try to get their community in better shape.
Yeah, any further, I'm gonna just say I'm not in support, and I wish I had been involved from the beginning when all of these stipulations were placed. I'm not going to be in support of this. We don't know what the future's going to hold. We do this, we come back 2 years from now, 5 years from now, whole nother plan. And you don't have a plan now. You don't have a plan that you know about. It's the issue. There may be a plan. You just might not know about it. And I know I don't know about it. And until I know about it, I'm not in support.
Like I said, I mean, we'll be back again for a PUD if it did pass. So I mean, you would still have a chance to another plan.
It again, there could be some plans. Well, where's Kimberly Clark located? Headquarters.
I'm sorry.
Where is Kimberly Clark headquarters?
I think it's in Iowa or Indiana or somewhere.
Wherever in Indiana could be where the plan is. We don't have it here.
Well,
we need the plan.
And Kimberly Clark has shut down numerous mills across the country and pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into Mobile. So they are vested here, and they want to be good neighbors. And if there's anything that we can do in the future to help the dialogue for this or anything else, we want to do that.
Yes, sir.
So I mean, they have no ill will. They're not to be sneaky about this or anything. We're trying to do what was asked of us so that they can build their converting building and start putting more tax dollars in Mobile.
Let me make it perfectly clear. I'm not disparaging Kimberly Clark.
Okay.
I'm simply saying that absent knowledge of a plan by myself, or individuals in the community, or yourself as their representative, that we can't definitively say that there is not a plan. And surely a conglomerate as big as Kimberly Clark has plans. And all we're saying is we'd like to know what the plan is before we unilaterally rezone this property. The citizens in that community have basically become jaundiced to things like this, where you just do things and say, well, we don't have a plan. And I've seen it in my time here. And then 3 or 4 months later, a year and a half later, you change leadership, and all of a sudden there is a plan. And so I appreciate all that you have said, and but it's pretty much where. But I think you knew that, though. We talked yesterday.
All right. Thank y'all for y'all's consideration. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this particular public hearing? Or any other public hearings? That's where we are, Madam Secretary. Just making sure.
That concludes the hearing.
Then that'll conclude the hearing. Thank all of you.
Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Matt Bartoli.
My name's Matt Bartoli. I live at 767 Wesley Avenue, which is in Pinehurst subdivision, which is off of Airport Boulevard in between University Boulevard and Hillcrest. And I live on Wesley Avenue. Pinehurst is the subdivision I live in. It's made up of 1,316 homes. Right in the center of that neighborhood, in between Wesley Avenue and Louise Avenue, is it a B1 property?
B2.
It's a B2 property that's been there for years, and they have multiple businesses there, retail shops, and massage and therapy shops and things like that. It's the post office is there, but in the back of that subdivision there's a nightclub, and that nightclub was once called The Edge, and it's a nightclub that was open 24 hours where people could go there and drink on the weekends and go there until 8 o'clock in the morning and drink. It's my understanding that The Edge was shut down due to problems in the neighborhood because this nightclub is so close to the neighborhood. It has now reopened, I think 2 or 3 years ago, it reopened under the name The Boulevard, and now there's been numerous complaints in the neighborhood about this business, I have actually the least amount of complaints. I just threw a petition out there to see if there was anybody else that had concerns in the neighborhood, and I used just social media to do so. We have a social media group called Friends of Pinehurst, where all the residents have a group that helps each other out and lets everybody know what's going on in the community and everything like that. Apparently it's an even worse problem than I thought. There's a nightclub called The Boulevard, from about the patrons there show up at about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning after they leave all the other bars that normally close, and they don't leave there until about 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. I have a copy of the petition. I don't know if y'all would like a copy. Give it to us. Here you go. But anyway, to make this quick, I'll just read you some of the petition had 117 signatures from people that live in the area, these are some of the complaints that we have. Number one, there's been repeated calls to police because of loud noise that wake the residents. And when they call the police come, and then they don't do anything about it. Number two, there's cars parked all along the sides of Pinehurst streets with very loud music, and it literally rattles the walls of your home. I didn't even know the place existed until I was asleep on Saturday night, and about 6 o'clock in the morning, I wake to the walls of my house rattling, and I walk outside, and there's a parking lot full of cars parked all along the street that I live on, with their bass rattling out of their cars and everything like that. And that's on a Saturday at 6 o'clock in the morning. There has been residents that have witnessed drug dealings. There's residents that have heard gunshots. There's residents that have have video footage and have witnessed brawls, out in the parking lot of the nightclub. One man recently intruded on a Pinehurst resident's home by jumping their fence in an attempt to elude the police because the police were called about a drug deal. And so he was running from the police on a drug deal, and so hopped neighbor's fence and was wandering in their backyard. Now, there are at least 2 residents that I know of that have come to me and said that they have evidence that, that there are Mobile police officers that are involved in the cover-up of illegal activity that's occurring within the nightclub. There's loiterers that stand outside of the neighborhood. There's been increased break-ins to homes and vehicles in the neighborhood during nightclub hours. And this is only just from 2 days of me putting a petition out. And so on just the Pinehurst Facebook group. So I think if I took this any further, okay.
That's your time, but I believe your council lady would like to address you.
Right. It's very difficult when a nightclub backs into an R1. It doesn't work anywhere in this city because the hours are so conflicting. What you're telling this council, and I don't think I just speak for myself, is troubling because of the type of demeanor that is coming from this club, and for you to coexist is near to impossible at this point. I know that I was in touch with our public safety director on your behalf to get some information. I did learn from Revenue that the old club that was the Edge, owned by this same person that now has it called the Boulevard, was never given a proper business license. But I'm not sure what the mechanism is, whether that's just something that's transferred when it's pointed out. I don't know if there's any kind of recourse there. And I don't believe that they have a liquor license under the new name. We have with us the assistant chief, and if he wants to comment, or I would certainly think this is something that is a public safety issue, residents dealing with this, to get the attention that you're requesting. As far as shutting it down, which the council would be charged with that, but it's after the city's policing come to the council, because we have done this. It's very rare. But when it's a public safety nuisance, and that's a certain benchmark that they get to for all the response that goes on, and they will tell us that these are really bad actors and we should deprive them of their business license, but that's not been broached, or I don't believe that this business is in that predicament from what I'm learning or hearing about. But I'm not trying to dismiss or not validate the concerns that you have in dealing with this. And it is a problem, not just in this district, but anytime you get this kind of environment close to one, people want to sleep. But with our, public safety representative here from the police department, if he has anything to add, I don't know. Or if you want to get, more information to
speak with him and get some details on him. It kind of concerns me, some of the allegations that are in his petition. I can tell you that we meet weekly with the commanders, and none of this has come up. And there has been complaints in the past about the Edge. So it's not like the captains aren't familiar with that operation that they have out there. Mm-hmm. But I am concerned with some of the allegations that are alleged here, and we'll look into all the stuff that's law enforcement related. I understand that you're looking into some of the things that are revenue related.
And does the police department look into the ABC aspect
Absolutely.
Of their licensure too?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I'll have our strategic initiatives commander works with the ABC look into those issues as well.
Great.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Mr. Bartola.
Reggie Hill.
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, to the administration and citizens and stakeholders of Mobile, good morning. Reggie Hill, 1007 Central Street. I rise today to speak on how public safety Public policy, recreation, and administrative transparency relates to our economic development. Before I begin any of those statements, though, I do want to say that God is much greater than the situations that we are facing. If we can hold true to the root of that source, I know that we can accomplish anything here in this city, and I believe that we have the leaders and the committed citizens to do so. I had the opportunity to attend the Finance Committee meeting last week, and there I learned that we restored the financial stability of the city. And in relation to our bonds, we're in good standing. So there's good hope on the economic piece. I guess my concern and what I will be addressing today is for the future of our city. As I look to the young people that will eventually be the leaders and at the forefront of our various communities, I'm hoping that we will have things in place so that all of the economic development that we have in this area will not be in vain. For if they do not know how to preside in these same positions or know how to construct the necessary plans to take us to that elevated plateau which we each desire for our city, it will have been null void. I'm going to skip around and give some insight to some things that I believe are important towards the future of our economic development in those four key points that I addressed initially. And I would like to start with the idea of communication. I want to commend this bold council for the approval last week on the public services contract. For quite some time, I've attempted to meet with the administration on concerns that I feel if we are one Mobile should have an ear to. I've attempted several times as well to even meet with the Director of Communications for the city, Mr. Chairman, to no avail. So when we hear these insinuations that we work collaboratively to have a level of communication that is sufficient for all residents in the city, I would have to hope that the council will continue to make moves that is going to benefit all the people. Anytime that I've asked to meet with any of these people, even those who are completely on the opposite side of the aisle with me, they've done so. They've sat down and at least heard what it was that I wanted to address. They've been able to, though being in different positions, address their concerns, but still listen and see how we can come to a concise decision on what would be best for our people. And that is vitally important. We're going to have a leader, the lead ambassador of this city, not in the lines of what are the concerns of all people. We're already setting ourselves back. So we have to have that administrative transparency. Then I want to look at the idea of public policy. As you all may remember, we had some young people earlier this year that came down and addressed the usage of our recreational facilities. It was told to us by the acting chief of staff that there was a policy stating that we could not use these facilities for the protection of young people as they would create hostile and violent environments. This is what was said, and this is what was recorded on the news too, for the safety of young people, because they would create hostile environments. So these young kids who were wanting to host this event came and asked for us to have this policy revealed to us. We then were informed that there is no policy. This is just what we're going to adopt. Now, we went on to host this event. We had about 250 young people from all over the county to participate at nighttime at a different facility, and there was no hostile engagement. There was no violent incidents. There were no occurrences. But these are the elements in which we're seeing that are controlling the forefront of our city. So we have to look at the policy in that manner as well. We implemented at least passed a public services contract dealing with communications. I believe that's something we should look into as well programming into in our recreation centers. We have to look at that program. This is something that we are seeing all across. And I say all that and I'll sum it up because the time has seemed to have flown by a little faster than normal. If we are going to look at the future, adults don't just wake up wanting to commit crimes. Adults don't wake up just wanting to be violent and kill people. Adults don't do that. It is something that is developed over time. And then they take that and it resonates in their life with whatever else they're facing, and then they create these acts. So really, I'm saying all this to say, we need to think about a public services contract that is going to look at programming. We already see where our centers are not even open on the weekends. Most times where they should be open. We have hours that should be looked at as well for in the summer. These are things that need to be done right now if we're going to see the future in places it should. I'll provide the rest of my notes because there's a lot more that I want to say 5 minutes isn't really enough time to do that, but I hope we can look into something of that nature if we really want to see the future of our city represent what we speak so much.
Thank you, Mr. Hill.
And happy Thanksgiving to you.
Happy Thanksgiving to you as well.
Ordinance is held over. 84031, authorize issuance of exempt general obligation refunding warrants.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and second, any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes.
CIP resolutions held over. 21797 and 798 are authorizing contracts with Stagner Contracting for Copeland Cox Tennis Center sloped retaining wall repairs and Iker Construction Corporation for Medal of Honor Park splash pad and restroom improvements.
So moved.
Second.
Probably motion and second, any discussion?
Yes.
Mrs.
Okay.
Rich?
On 21798, which is the splash pad and restroom improvements, which are very much anxiously awaiting for. I am pleased that this contract is before council, and I hope I have the support of my colleagues up here today. This was an initiative that started after sending out postcards about 4 or 5 years ago now, and asking people, how do we spend the capital money in District 6? And a splash pad was very high up on the agenda. And so it moved forward, and this is actually using 3 years of CIP funding coming together from 2017, 18, and 19 in order to do this build and make those restroom improvements. I thank everybody in the administration who worked with my office to achieve this goal, and the outside consultants as well. And again, this is a very well-received project, and I'm glad to see it coming forward. And it's due to be done in the first week of May, if everything goes as it should, weather permitting. But it should be up and running for the summer season. And because we have so much activity on the playground, this is bigger than the average splash pad, just like that playground is as well in that park at Medal of Honor. So again, thank you to everyone who helped bring this forward to this point, and I look forward to actual construction starting in a timely fashion. So thank you.
Any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Mrs. Gregory?
On 21797, which is the contract for making repairs on the wall at the Copeland Cox Tennis Center, I'm very grateful for all the help that we have received from Kim Harden and everyone in the administration to make this happen. This looks like a fairly sizable contract, but it is only one of many repairs that we need to make out at Copeland Cox. This is a citywide amenity, the world's largest public tennis facility, and it is I will call it a jewel, but it's pretty well hidden right now because of all the needs it has to turn it into that bright, shining diamond that we know it can be. So again, this is just one step toward that, and just thank everyone for helping to make this happen.
Any further discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. It seems to me that Councilmember Rich is saying that her splash pad is larger than the one in Tricentennial Park. I want her to know that the first splash pad in the city limits of the city of Mobile was built in Tricentennial Park, and I'm going to always have the mother of splash pads.
Whatever that is.
All right, with no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Items passed.
Resolutions held over. 01799, 800, and 801 are authorizing agreements with Illinois Central Railroad Company for temporary easement for roadway purposes to facilitate the wide Ziegler Boulevard, and for local agency roadway improvements to facilitate the widening of Ziegler Boulevard, and for permanent easement for roadway purposes to facilitate the widening of Ziegler Boulevard.
So moved.
Second.
Probably motion and second, any discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Mrs. Gregory?
Ziegler Boulevard, the widening of Ziegler Boulevard is something that we have been talking about since I took council almost 13 years ago now. It's a project that should have done years ago, but got put on the back burner. and is finally making its way to the top again with the state. So I'm very excited about this. Kudos to Flo Kessler and all the legal staff and the administration finally getting this done. It was a yeoman's task, and Flo was certainly up to it, so we really appreciate all the work that she did. The first, and this is the exciting part, of course, for the neighborhood, the first letting for the Forest Hill to Athey portion will be in May. We should see a contract and some construction starting around August. The Cody to Schillinger section letting for that contract will be in January. Then we should see construction somewhere May to August. So basically that means that both phases of the project will probably be under construction at the same time. And this is really exciting, but at the same time, I know it's going to cause a lot of traffic congestion. I'm sure people will be calling me, wondering what's going on. But surely, if you live in the area, you know that eventually Ziegler will be widened. We've been doing a lot of the utility work and preparation. We will, of course, have plenty of signage and people out directing traffic, and it will never, ever be closed down completely. They will just be working on one side of the other during probably drive time. So we will all have to put on our patience hats and just know that eventually it will be so much better. So again, I'm just very grateful for all the work that has been put into this, and certainly grateful that we will soon see construction starting. I think I will get out there and drive the bulldozer a little bit because it's almost like it would never happen. And now that it actually is happening, I have one gentleman who lives on Ziegler, and he comes to all of my meetings. He always asks me, is it ever going to be done in my lifetime? So I'm hoping that it will be done in all of our lifetimes, and we will see a nice four-laned Ziegler Boulevard very soon. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mrs. Gregory. Any further? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Items passed.
Ordinance is being introduced for the first time, 64032.
By council rules, this ordinance will live for 1 week.
Consent resolutions being introduced, 31802 through 60813.
Motion to suspend the rules for immediate consideration of resolution 802 through 60813.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Any discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
31803 are authorizing the mayor to apply, accept, and receive funding from the Department of Justice grant, competitive grant, in the amount of $1,250,000, and also from the State of Alabama Law Enforcement Agency Homeland Security grant for $25,000. 31804 authorized the mayor to enter into a memorandum of agreement with the Rape Crisis Center for the Saki grant in the amount of $1,500,000. 805, 806, 807 are declaring structures at 1012.
We need to take 805 separately.
Yeah.
Okay. 4805, declare the structure at 1012 New St. Francis Street a public nuisance and order it demolished.
Move delay over 2 weeks.
Second.
Probably motion and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
4806, 807 are declaring the structures at 159 Stevens Street, 2021 Tucker Street, public nuisances and order them demolished. 5808 and 809 authorize removal of weeds, group 1584, and assess cost for removal of weeds, group 1579. 6810, 811, 812 are determining expenditure of discretionary funds for contribution to Young Leaders of America, University of South Alabama, and Providence Hospital Foundation Festival of Flowers serves a public purpose and approved payment. 6813, approve award of special bonus to the Officer of the Month, part of the Mayor's Incentive Program, James Ainsworth.
So moved.
Second.
Probably motion and second. Any discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolutions being introduced for the first time, 09814 through 21817.
All said resolutions will live for 1 week by council rules.
Call for public hearings, 418188. Call for public hearing to rezone property at 2503, 2505, and 2507 Old Shell Road, 35 and 37 Holbert Street, south side of Old Shell Road, 60 feet west of Holbert Street, extending to the west side of Holbert Street, 100 feet south of Old Shell Road, from B2 and R1 to B1, scheduled December 18th.
So moved.
Second.
Probably motion and second, any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is called.
Announcements.
Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Two things. First of all, I'd like to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's a wonderful opportunity to spend time with your family and friends, and I hope everybody has an opportunity to do that. And secondly, I have a special guest with me in the audience today. A lovely young lady back there in the back row in the red jacket is my mother.
Yeah,
she's
stand
visiting
up.
us.
All right.
Catherine Martin, she's visiting us from South Florida. And with your permission, Mr. Chairman, we're going to excuse ourselves and start entering our Thanksgiving holiday.
You cooking the turkey?
Yes, ma'am.
Nice meeting you. Yes, ma'am.
All right.
You have a great son most of the time. Just joking. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Mrs. Rich.
Thank you very much. I too wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving. Make lots of wonderful memories that you'll cherish for your lifetime. On November 29th, which is a Thursday after Thanksgiving, there'll be a District 6 community meeting at the Connie Hudson Senior Center, where the topic will be most of the time under public safety. We look forward to having the chief and also public safety director, along with any other personnel they wish to bring. We'll have the splash pad rendering for people to see, and we'll also be talking about the Grelot median improvements, which is also a welcome change, and working with the Alabama Urban Forestry Association and the city's urban forestry department. And I thank everyone for getting involved in that. You will receive a robocall, which I know sometimes can be a huge nuisance, to invite you to this meeting if you live in the district. And I usually do postcards, but this is a way to save funds, and I'm actually doing it as a test. Will be a second call closer to the meeting as well, to see whether this is an efficient way to let people know about a district meeting besides media release and Facebook, and through the city's media release as well. On December 7th at the Connie Hudson Senior Center will be the Christmas breakfast put on by the district, and I urge everyone to come up there. They're the center users. It's at 8:30, and it's free and enjoyable, and we play a lot of holiday games, so I hope people will make that. Again, that's Friday, December 7th at 8:30 a.m. Thank you very much.
Mr. Small.
Thank you, President Manzi. I'd like to join my colleagues and wish everyone, especially the citizens of District 3, a very happy Thanksgiving. We have so much to be thankful for. Me personally, I'm thankful for the City Council and the Mayor and administration, also the staff of the City of Mobile, including our City Clerk and her staff. Working together, we can move many mountains and achieve many things. Think about the many things that District 3 have achieved since I've been on this council seat, especially for the CIP program. You know, with the CIP program, one of my biggest challenges that I had facing this particular city, it was Ann Street, and just thankful for the County Commission pay-as-you-go, and along with the CIP program, for going forth to making, you know, Ann Street, you know, something that people just never thought that was going to come, especially anytime soon, because of the lack of funding. I'm so thankful for the parts upgrades that we have done throughout the district, and the many things that was fixed that has been broken over many times. Last week, the council had received an email from Mrs. Irby regarding CIP and talking about 2019, and I started looking through the list, and I started with, you know, being thankful again because many things that's on that particular list, you know, many people did not have dreams of coming so soon. You know, for instance, Baltimore Street haven't been paid in, you know, almost 55 years. You go down that particular street, it's almost like a narrow speed bump. You know, you're not going to go fast because you got to go up and down, you know, on Baltimore Street. And just looking at it, at the CIP, we're looking to start construction on Baltimore Street of October of 2019. For the, you know, the people of the Odell community, that's a blessing right there, as it is. And even in the South DIP area, back in the 50s, there was a Alba Club Beach that was located in the South DIP. And as I'm looking at the 2019 CIP list, you know, there is some money that is designated for the demolition of the treatment plant to start the process of working towards Alba Club Beach to get that reopened, not just for the citizens of the South DIP or District 3, but for the city of Mobile. When that beach opened, that's going to bring more tourism revenue, especially in the South DIP area. For we know that we do have challenges, you know, having water process here in the city of Mobile. When I look on that list, I'm looking at Tremere Park, McNally Park, drainage issues that have been around for years that, you know, were challenging, you know, for the city of Mobile because of the lack of funding. So District 3, you know, the city of Mobile, we have so much to be thankful for because, again, you know, it didn't have to come as fast as I thought it was going to be, but to me, this is coming fast compared to what our previous council members had, you know, resources of money before. And again, I am so thankful for this administration, the mayor, especially this is city council and the staff of the city of Mobile. Also, mark your calendars for Monday, December the 10th, 2018 at 6:30 p.m. It's going to be our annual community holiday event. It will be held at the Maryvale Elementary School, which is located at 1901 Maryvale Street off of Dolphin Island Parkway. We will have plenty of food, music, and fun and entertainment provided by the local schools in District 3, BC Rain, Pillins, Gilliard, Craighead, and also Maryvale Elementary School will all be performing for that evening. We will also be collecting items this event to donate to our elderly residents throughout the district. We've been doing this for the last several years and reaching out to people that do not have loved ones during the Christmas holiday. And once you give them a gift and just bring like joy to your heart and your soul because you brighten someone's life up during the holidays, which they probably did not think they was going to get anything. We are asking residents to bring socks, toothbrushes, toothpaste, pajamas, slippers, unscented lotion, blankets, hair combs, and brushes. Please consider, bring a donation, but it's not required. But again, this will be held on Monday, December the 10th at 6:30 p.m. at the Maryvale Elementary School. And my phone and email have been ringing off the hook for the past 6 months of this next announcement I'm about to make, and that's the Parades of Threes. This will take place on Saturday, December 15th, 2018 at 2:00 p.m. And this is our 4th annual Parades of Threes. Myself, a partner with Representative Barbara Drummond, and we parade down Dolphin Island Parkway. We start at BC Rain School, and we end up at Pillins Middle School. The first year, we had 10,000 people that came out to the parade. Last year, it was 17,000 spectators that came out to the parade. And we're expecting a bigger and better parade on this year. We've been planning for a while. Again, this is our 4th year. We haven't been around 30 years like some other people, but we're on our way. But again, this would take place on Saturday, December 15th, 2:00 p.m. And not just inviting the citizens of District 3, inviting the whole entire community, the whole entire Gulf Coast area. And we're looking to have a fun event with Santa Claus ending the parade. And thank you, Vice President. And again, wishing everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Mr. Small, Mrs. Gregory.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yesterday, I had the privilege of attending the legislative luncheon. This was the day the new legislators were sworn into office, and we had a luncheon afterwards to celebrate their swearing in and beginning of their new quadrennium. I also want to especially congratulate our senators and representatives from my district. I actually have 2 senators and 2 representatives. Not sure all council members get that kind of coverage, but my senators are Vivian Figures and Jack Williams. Jack is taking Rusty Glover's position. My representatives are Chris Pringle and Sam Jones. That's a name you all probably recall. So 2 representatives and 2 senators, and I just congratulate them and look forward to working with them in the future. Coming up December 10th will be my annual Christmas meeting. We will again be collecting gifts for the children at Wilmer Hall, which is always a treat for everyone in the district to be able to make their Christmas brighter. So it starts at 6 o'clock. We'll be at the Mobile Museum of Art again. We will recognize our community groups as well as the first responders. And we have invited the Mary B. Austin Singers to come and entertain us all again this year. They were terrific last year. We will be providing a very light supper for everyone. So postcards, and Mrs. Rich is going to be the guinea pig on the robocall. But I'm still going old school this year with postcards, so be looking for those in the mail to give you all of the information that you might need, especially those gifts for the kids at Wilmer Hall, what kinds of things that they're looking for. So again, Christmas meeting, December 10th, 6 o'clock at the Mobile Museum of Art. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Richardson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also attended the legislative luncheon yesterday, and then they were sworn in here at Government Plaza in this building I was here for. That ceremony also had Senator Vivian Figures and legislator Sam Jones representing me, and I was happy to see all of them, a great group of people. They claim to be the greatest group of legislators in the state of Alabama. There's no county in the state of Alabama with greater legislators. And looking at that group, it was a very diverse group. And I made a post about that group, and I said, I hope that the day will come that the Mobile County Courthouse will look like this group. It is absence of diversity. And I'm hoping that they'll do something about it in Montgomery. Anyway, like I said, last Thursday, I had an outstanding Midtown community meeting at the Ashland Place United Methodist Church. When you can hold a meeting where no one complained about being harmed, no property destroyed, no homes broken into, no complaints of blight, I think you have to say that that was a very good meeting. I didn't have any of those issues raised. In fact, everything we talked about was encouraging. We had a representative from Taco Mama, the manager, to come and testify how well they are doing over there on O'Shea Road. And we was expecting, but I guess they were doing too much business. Simple Greek has opened up in the village there where Publix is, and by the end of December, a pizza restaurant will be opening up there also. We had from the city of Mobile, Mr. He must have just left. Had Mr. Pete there talk about trash, and we had Nick Amberger, our engineer, to come and talk about drainage issues. We had our fire chief, Mark Seeley, came to testify that the mother of all fire stations is the Crichton Fire Station. We were the last one to be built. And it is said in the Bible that the first will be last and the last will be first. We are number one on all fire stations in the city of Mobile. We had our Commander Stallings to come from the 3rd Precinct to testify what everybody already know, that the safest precinct in the city of Mobile is the 3rd Precinct. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. And all of you. I want to start my announcements. We want to acknowledge our colleague from great city of Pritchard, Councilman Lorenzo Martin. And I want to announce several events that will be going on over the upcoming days. The Chabad of Mobile is sponsoring a Hanukkah carnival and public menorah lighting.
All right.
And I would be privileged to join my colleague, Councilwoman Bess Rich, in lighting the menorah on Tuesday, December 4th at 6:30. They will have a 6-foot balloon menorah. They want to make certain that the public is aware of that. On Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, the St. Joseph Missionary Baptist Church of Mobile, 661 South Broad Street, will be feeding the community a Thanksgiving meal. And Pastor Bell wanted me to make certain to put emphasis on that. I believe they'll start at 10 and probably go until all the resources are exhausted. In other words, until all the food is gone. We had a great community meeting on last Tuesday at the St. Joseph Baptist Church again. And I had a meeting similar to the one that Councilman Richardson referenced. It's probably one of the most peaceful and productive meetings that I've had of the 55 at this point. And I think all the residents that braved the cold, it was extremely cold night. And it might have had something to do with the temperament because it was very poorly attended. But we do plan on having another one in the spring, and I'm sure that the old soldiers will be back. And I want to end by saying to all the great citizens of District 2, happy Thanksgiving. I am so elated, honored to be your voice here at Government Plaza. I'm thankful for that opportunity, and I don't take it lightly, not one moment, not one second, that this is a privilege. And as Councilman Small so eloquently said, there's a lot for us to be thankful for, if for no more than we did not have to go through what our neighbors in Florida and South Carolina, North Carolina, California, somebody is spending their Thanksgiving not knowing where their loved one is. And that's not our lot, and we ought to be grateful to Almighty God for that. Any other announcements? Mr. Talbot, you wouldn't have anything to share from the administration, would you? Sound like a one. It be nothing else. Do I hear a motion? So moved. Probably motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Meeting's adjourned.